So welcome everybody. We're very happy to be having this 12th class on the Taitareeya Upanishad. And just a reminder, Wednesdays and Fridays we'll keep having this class here at 8:30 p.m. IST. Again, the English translation with the commentaries from Shankara is at the top of the chat. And we're in chapter 2, which starts at page 301, and the page numbering that's actually on the pages within the PDF. And then the mantras that, Bindaji, thank you for preparing those mantras that are up above for us to look at. Thank you everyone for being here, but most especially thank you to you, Bindaji, for providing these classes and giving us a view of these Upanishads that I think is very authentic and unusual, and I'm very grateful, and I think others are too. And then thank you, Prakash, for being another moderator in this house. In a minute, we'll turn off hand raising and chat, but afterwards we'll have a question and discussion where we can all bring forward our concerns and insights from the day. So we hope you'll participate. Thank you so much. Prakash, did you want to say anything before Bindaji starts the class?
Just a namaste to you and everyone. Over to Binduji. Thank you.
Namaste Artemisia, Prakash, and Adi Om to all of you who are listening. Om Namo Brahmadibhyo Brahma Vidya Sampradaya Kartrabhyo Vamsha Rishibhyo Mahadbhyo Namo Gurubhyaha Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Pada Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutrabhashikritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murtibeda Vibhagine Vyomavat Vyaptadehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Sri Gurubhyo Namaha Shanti Mantram Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahavidyam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai Om Shanti 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 Om Brahma Vidapnoti Param Tadeshabhyukta Satyam Jnanamanantam Brahma Yo Veda Nihitam Guhayam Parame Vyoman Sosnude Sarvan Kaman Saha Brahmana Vipaschiteti Tasmadva Yetasmadatmana Akashas Sambhutaha Akashadvayuhu Vayoragnihi Agneirapaha Adhyah Prithivi Prithivya Aushadayaha Oshadebhyonnam Annat Purushaha Sava Yesha Purushonnarasamaya Tasya Edameva Shiraha Ayam Dakshinah Pakshaha Ayam Uttarah Pakshaha Ayam Atma Idam Puccham Pratishtha Tatapyesha Shloko Bhavati Iti Prathamanuvak. So last Friday we had definition of Satyam, Jnanam, Anandam, Brahma in somewhat detailed. I am just going to run through it again so that one is we have the continuity. Second thing is that if there is any point which I have missed, maybe because of last week, I just landed after a trip. So if I have missed something, I don't want to that come in between the understanding. And those who have I know that there are people who have listened 2 times, 3 times and 4 times to the Friday's lecture to understand what has been told. So for their benefit, I will briefly run through the last part once again before venturing into today's topic. So the definitions for Satyam, Jnanam and Anantam has been given as Visheshanas, means adjectives to the word Brahma. But apart from being the adjectives to Brahma, they also are indicating the real nature of Brahma. But when we understand the real nature of Brahma, we should understand one thing, that each word, even though they have by definition and by their own meaning, have standalone meanings, they are not standalone when it comes to Brahma. They have to be taken together, that one without the other two cannot complete the indicated meaning of the nature of Brahman. So make it very clear that what we are going to discuss is about the words Satyam, Jnanam and Anantam, and they are, the word Satyam means Sat, indicating Sat means what is real, existing, and is indicated in the Chandogya Upanishad, Tat Satyam Svetaketo, so that, Tattvamasi Svetaketo, or what it started with, Sadeva Saumya Idamagra Asi, that Sat is what is indicated by the word Satyam here. Satyam means what which has got Sat in it. And we have Jnanam, Nepti Avabodha Bhavasadhano Jnana Shabdaha, Brahma Visheshnatvad Satyanandabhyam Saha. So, even though the word Jnanam, we are all familiar with the word Jnanam. Jnanam means knowledge. The word, it is coming from the word Jna is the verbal root. Jna means avabodhane, or to know. Means Jnanam becomes knowledge. It is a Jna pratyaya with a special suffix when it becomes Jnanam. So before going into the details of that, let me complete that. What is Satyam? Yat rupena yan nishchitam tad rupan na vyabhicharati tad satyam. Now, for example, whatever we have fixated or convinced about something, when that doesn't undergo any change, that can be called as Satyam. For example, when we hear a sound, we hear it as sound through our ears, and we know that it is a sound. The knowledge we know means we have the knowledge that it is sound. And that under circumstances doesn't undergo a change. The sound may have variations. The decibels, the pitch, etc., are within Sugadageda. But sound as a nature of an entity or an object known through the ears cannot be replaced by either by what we see or touch, smell, taste, etc. So from that point of view, it is convinced that what I know is now a sound. It is not talking about that type of a fixation or a conviction that it is something which is not changing. Those are all relatively fixed or without change in our experiential thing, and they are all controlled at the mind level by the knowledge. So when we have this conviction that has not undergone any change, what I know about is remaining as the same, it is relatively from the transactional world or Vyavahara Satyam. But here is one thing which is called, what is called as the Paramarthika Satyam, or from the point of view of absolute. How can it be something which is Satyam? Yad rupena yad nishchitam tad rupam vyapicharati ched anurtam. Suppose if it is changing, it is anurtam. Ataha vikaro anurtam. Then how does it have changes? It is because vikara takes place. Vikara means changes. The name and form undergoes a change. So we can call it as not Satyam. For example, Vacharambanam vikaro namadeyam vrittikatteva Satyam. In the case of mud and the vikaras of mud like pot, lamp, doll, etc., they are all vikaras. The doll, the lamp, etc. are vikaras. But the nature of mud doesn't undergo a change. Therefore, relatively, mud is real, Satyam, Mrittikatyeva Satyam, when compared to Namadeyam Vikaraha, by different names, which has been now formed as lamp, doll, pot, etc. So, Deva, this is also in the form of a Satyavadarana, is an understanding of Satyam in the relative world. So we know that when we hear about Satyam, we should be not relating anything to the transactional world or relative world. Ataha Satyam Brahma iti Brahma Vikara Nivartayati. So when the Satyam Brahma is mentioned here, it is to ward off or deny all Vikara that can happen in Brahma. Brahma doesn't undergo any change. It is Brahma, always Brahma. So Vikarat Nivartyartam. Ataha Karanatvam Praptam Brahmana. This was what Venkat had a doubt. Ataha Karanatvam Praptam Brahmana. Why therefore there is a causation in Brahma when if we accept there is Vikara in Brahma. So when that is being denied, Nivartayati, Karyat Nivartayati. So there is no Karya, Brahma is a Karana, therefore Karanatvam Praptam. So that if there are products or, effects out of Brahman, therefore there will be causation attributed to Brahman. That is not acceptable. Therefore, Vikarat Nivartayati Brahma by word Satyam Brahma. By denying the possibility of effects coming out of Brahma, Brahma is not a causation, therefore Satyam Brahma. Karanasya cha karakatvam vastutva mridvat achitrubhata jadam prapta. Now, Karanasya karakatvam. If it is assumed it is karakam, if it is what you call the effect causation as its as a nature, therefore the karakatvam means yajnatvam. Activities should take place in the Brahma. If activities has to take place, what will happen? If karanatvam cha karakatvam, both, if it is happening, vastutvat mridvat achitrubhata cha prapta. In that case, what happens? the effects coming out of Brahman will become the matter, which is the products out of Brahman, and Brahman become the cause, and the product which comes out cannot be different from the Karya Karya, should not be different. What comes out of mud will have to be mud. Same way, if from Brahman, if something is come out as a product in multiple, then it doesn't remain as Satyam, and it also becomes a Vastutvat Mridvat, like the mud, etc. From the mud, when it is formed into pot and etc., it takes name and form. Even when mud as a lump and clay, it is also has got a name and form. So all those Vastutvat is Jada. Achit Rupata means Jadam. So Chaitanya Rupa, see that is why in Karanasya Karakatvam, both of them, when it is removed, then only we can say the Brahma is Chaitanyam, or the consciousness in nature, or Jnana Swarupa Prapta. Ataha idam uchyate Jnanam Brahmedi. To remove the Jadatvam for Brahma, we have been now told that Jnanam Brahma. Now here we have to understand one thing. Jnanam Brahma, we are all familiar with Jnanam. See, the Jna Dhatu, or the verbal root Jna, it is like Gam, where the activity takes place. Gam from Gamanam becomes Gamanam, means move, going, or gone. I mean, Gamanam is going, or the act of going. Ganta means the one who is going. So all type of activity related to a verb is the reason why the activities are happening. When activities are happening, what happens is that the verbal root cannot be understood in its pure form. Now, what is the verbal root gam is standing for cannot be understood in the absence of the pratyaya, the suffixes, by adding the person who is going, or he has gone, or the one which is gone, or all type of that go, the related to go, the movement is taken here. But we also have similar word like go. To know is a verbal root which is called jna. So jnanam is a word formed out of like gamanam. Here jnanam is also a verbal root which has now become a knowledge. To know has become now knowledge. Now the moment it becomes knowledge, we all have an understanding that knowledge what we know in our transactional world. We know about everything what we have studied in the colleges and schools and things like that, physics, chemistry, biology, whatever it is. We know about social science, politics, stars, galaxies, everything what we have studied, we have knowledge out. Now, is it this knowledge what we are talking about here in the case of Brahma? No. All these knowledge are manovritti. They are all functions happening in the mind in the light of knowledge, as where there is a knower, known, and object of knowing. So here we are talking about that jnanam of Brahma where there is no threesome. Knower, known, and knowing. That aspect is not there, but yet it is a knowledge. Therefore, it is said that it is nepti, or pure avabodha. Avabodha means again nepti. The meaning is Nyapti means avabodha, means bodha, bodha swarupa. Bhava sadhano jnana shabda. It is not an act. It is not a, what you call, causation or any of the thing. It is pure nature. Bhava means the nature of knowledge. Natu jnana kartra. It is not the knower, because we have knowledge about so many things in the world. So the natural thing which we will be thinking is that, so it is the knower of everything. In the Shastra, it has been mentioned that it is knower of everything, it is the seer of everything, it is the thinker of everything. Like that in the Kena Upanishad, everything is being mentioned. But here in the Satyajnana Anandam definition, we are not taking any of those definitions here. Why? It is not contradicting each other. There it has been mentioned from the point of view of the context in which it has been mentioned. Here the context is Brahmavid apnodi param. That is the context. So for that purpose, that Brahman has to be understood as Satyam, Jnanam and Anandam. There the Jnana is not the Jnana Kartra. Brahma Visheshanatvat Satyanandabhyam Saha. Since it is a Visheshana or an adjective to Brahma, we have to understand in combination with Satyam and Anandam Saha, with both of them together. It is not Satyam alone, it is not Jnanam alone, it is not Anandam alone. It is that Satyam which is also Jnanam and Anandam. It is that Jnanam which is Satyam and Anandam also. It is that Anandam which is Satyam and Jnanam also. That way we have to understand that. Nahi Satyata Anandata cha Jnana Kartrute Sadi Upadyate. Now, Anandata cannot happen if it's Jnana Kartrute Sadi. In the event of we accepting that Jnana Kartrutya, Anandata and Satyata cannot happen. How? Jnana Kartrutvena hi Vikriyamanam Kadam Satyam Bhavet Anandam cha. If Jnana Kartrutvam is what we are taking it as, the Jnanam word is there as Sarvadik, one who is seeing everything or one who is knowing everything, like that, omniscient, if you are taking it, that Vikriyamanam, Kadam Satyam Bhavet, Kadam Anandam Bhavet. How can it be Satyam, which is not changeable? Anandam, which is, not one thing which has a beginning and an end. So, which is not without a beginning and end. Anandam means it's infinite. So you cannot have a beginning and end also at the same time. The words beginning and end itself is not applicable in such a case where the Anandam word has to be understood. What is that Anandam? Yat na kutaschit pravibhajyate tad Anandam. That is what is Anandam here. We are not talking about something as a beginning or end. Na kutaschit pravibhajyate. In whichever form or whatever form, however form or wherever form or all the type of things which you can think, you cannot bring a division in it. Pravibhajyate, na pravibhajyate. Tadanandam. Such a thing is what is called Brahma. Now Brahman cannot be divisible in any method. With Anandam or Jnanam, together when we take it, then only the Anandam will become complete. Otherwise, we have the knowledge of Anandam in the case of sky, the case of time, in the case of, mind, etc. are infinite in nature, where their potency is infinite in nature. So it is not those things which is being referred here. Jnana kartrutvetnya neya jnanabhyam pravibhaktam ityanandata na syad. If we bring it jnana kartrutvam, then neya jnanabhyam, the moment we have a jnana kartrutvam, the knower as a definition, sarvam janati, iti sarvatnyaha. We have a word which is called sarvatnyaha. Sarvam janati iti sarvatnyaha. Everyone who knows everything. So that definition should not be brought here in the case of Brahman here. Because in Brahman there is no sarvam. So jnana kartrutvam, when then there is no knowing of another thing, that happening of activity of knowing is not there. Therefore, jnaya jnana abhyam, knowledge of object or the act of knowing, for that knower, pravibhaktam iti anandada nasyat. We will bring it, then anandada nasyat. Then it will not be anandada, because when we have brought division into three sub, the knower, known, and the knowing. Here is that mantra from the Chandogya Upanishad, where Narada Sanat Kumara Samvada. Yatra na anyat vijanati sabhuma. Yatra anyat vijanati tadalpam. So where there is knowing, not anything else, that is bhuma. Where there is something known other than that, let it be Brahma Jnanam, knowing of Brahman or knowing of Atma, then Brahma and Atma becomes an object. That case, what happens? Then it becomes Alpam. It is not Brihattam. It is not Brihattamam. Therefore, what happens? It is not Bhuma. So here is a situation where there is knowing, but there is nothing else to be known. Yatrana anyad vijanati sabhuma. Now, when such a statement comes, normally the Purva Pakshi or the Advaita student itself will be confused. He will ask, na anyad vijanati iti vishesha pradishedat atmanam vijanati iti chet. Suppose the self is knowing itself, because the Guru has said, Shastra has said, Sarvatnya, the Swayam Janati, one who knows itself, himself. Even we have experienced that I know I am. So that word, I know I am, is not somebody else is knowing myself. So Atmanam Vijanati iti chet. Atmanam Vijanati. The Atma is knowing itself. If that is the way in which it is to be understood, na. Acharya Shankara says, categorically denies it. Na bhuma lakshana vidhi paratvad vakyasya. Bhuma lakshana vidhi. In the lakshana vidhi of bhuma, in the Shantogya Upanishad, it is said that yatra na anyad vijanati sa bhuma. So the vidhi vakyam for bhuma is yatra na anyad vijanati. So what happens? If that is the vidhi vakya, if you say the Atmanam Atma Vijanati, the Atma is knowing itself, then there is a Lakshana Vidhi Paratvad. There is a difference what happens from that statement, that Lakshana Vakyasya. So, Bhuma Lakshana says there is nothing known to be knowing, nothing other than that. Yatra na anyat pasyati ityadi bhumno lakshana vidhi param vakyam. Not only anyat vijanadi, anyat pasyadi, anyat shrunodi, all those statements are lakshana vidhi vakyas for Brahman. All these statements will become useless and redundant if we are accepting that Atma knows Atma itself. Now, we normally have heard that, my Guru is Atmatjnani or Brahmatjnani. He knows, he is always knowing his Atma. He is in Atma Nirvriti. He is in a state of, absorbed in Atma. All those type of statements are heard umpteen times and always used in the spiritual context. Here, Shankaracharya categorically denies that. all those things will be against the definition of Bhuma or Brahma. Bhuma and Brahma are the same. Yada prasiddhameva, like in the world it is very, very, prasiddham means very popular or very well known. Anyo anyat pasyati ityetat upadaya yatra. So in the world it is that anyat pasyati. One thing sees another thing. So yatra na anyat pasyati. How can that be happening? Tatra tat nasti. What tatra tat nasti means? In the loka, in the transaction or in the ordinary parlance, it is always something knowing something else. Yatra tad nasti. In that place or in Brahman, tad nasti. Such a event or such an activity cannot take place. Sa bhuma idi bhuma swarupam tatra jnapyate. Only in that case, bhuma swarupam, the nature of Brahma or Brahman, idi jnapyate tatra jnapyate. Only in that case, the Brahma is what we will be able to understand. Not that we will know Brahman. Not that we will know our Atma. No. This Atma, Brahman, whatever is being mentioned, is not an object or in any sort of form of any sort of activity to be known. It is not a subject or not an object to be known. Please understand that. Anyagrahanasya prapta pradeshedartatvat na swatmani kriya astitva param vakyam. Now, anyagrahanasya, by grasping something other than oneself, prapta pradeshedartatvad. To pradeshedartatvad means to deny the prapta or the possibility of getting it or grasping it as something other than itself. Swatmani kriya astitva param vakyam. That swatmani in oneself, na kriya astitva param vakyam. This type of a statement has no validity. Swatmani cha bheda abhavat vijnana anupapatti. Swatmani in oneself, bheda abhavat. In oneself there is no bifurcation as knower and known. So bheda abhava, vijnana anupapatti. That knowing aspect can never happen in oneself. Atmanascha vitneyatve jnatra abhava prasangaha. Atmanascha, in the Atma, vitneyatve, by taking as it to be known, jnatra abhava prasanga. Either it will become an object to be known, or will become an object or a subject which is knowing it. Both subject and object can never happen in one place. Jnanayatvayaneva viniyuktatvad. That is the nature of jnana. Neyatva. Neyatvam means to be known. This is why that word jnanam has to be understood in such clarity that we have to don't have any type of ideation, even think that, I had 1,000 sons experience, I had this thing, that thing, all type of knowing of Brahman or knowing Atma can never happen. Yet, Shastra says that Atma va are drishtavya, shrotavyo, mantavyo, niditya, sidavya. Yajnavalkya tells Maitreyi. In same way, Chaturtam manyande sa atma sa vitneyaha in the Mandukya Upanishad. So many places, Upanishads themselves are saying it is to be known. Now, how it is to be known, they have not clarified or they have not defined or explained it in any word. Here Shankaracharya is bringing this aspect of knowing of Brahman or Atman, how we should understand, and that understanding, once we have the clarity of it, very, 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 what you call convincingly, then only we will be able to understand what all the Upanishads are telling in their respective places, how we should know that. Once you know this aspect, revisit all the Upanishads which you have studied. You will see all the Upanishads in a different light. That is the time the Upanishads will be enlightening you. Right now, until now, what we have done is we have grasped the different aspects of Atma or Brahman from the different Upanishads. We have formed imaginations and ideations about Atma and Brahman. But how to know it has not been achieved by us, or not been able to even fathom it in any way. Only when we know that it is indivisibly to be known with Satyam, Jnanam and Anantam, this is the Swarupa Lakshanam of Brahman. Where all other places, it is all Lakshana Vakya, Tadastha Lakshana or indicative words which have been used. The only place where you will find Satyatyanam Anandam or Satchidanandam Brahma, all these two are the words. Satyatyanam Anandam Brahma or Satchidanandam Brahma, both the meanings are the same. In all the places, we have to understand that these three words have to be understood in one applicability to one Brahman. There is no way we can understand Brahman other than the applicability of the three words together. Now, if this is the case, ekam eva atma nyayatvena nyatratvena cha ubhayata bhavati chet. I am going to today's section. If ekam eva atma, there is only one atma, we let us accept. Now this is the Purvapakshi's statement. He is asking that, let us accept that there is only one and only one atma. Neyatvena Nyatratvena cha ubhayatha bhavati chet. If it has the potency to be known and also the knower of it. Ubhayata, both being simultaneously having the potency to know and itself. If that is the case, na, Acharya very clearly says, not at all. Yugapat anamshatvad. Simultaneously, Yugapat means simultaneously. At the same time, anamshatvad, because it has no bifurcation. Because if you don't use the word anantam, then the divisibility can come. Jnadar, Jneya, known and knower can happen. But it is Ananda. Anantata is, how did Anantata being defined? It has been na kutaschit pravibhyajyate. Na kutaschit. In no matter whatsoever method you try your level best, it cannot be divided. Tad Anandam. That is what is Anandam means. Not that it is infinite. Infinite can be divided. Time is infinite. But you can divide time into hours, seconds, microseconds and nanoseconds, etc. In being infinite doesn't mean it cannot be divided. Here it is saying that na kutaschit pravibhyajyate. By no means you can divide it into anything only then it is called Anantam. So here it is said, Anna Ananshatvad, Yugapat, because it cannot be Jnatritneya, knower and known as simultaneously. Nahi Niravayavasya Yugapat Neyat Jnatritva Upapatti. Brahma is Niravayava, means without any parts, because Anantam. The word Anantam becomes the word Niravayava. There it is without any parts. Yugapat Neyat Jnatritva Upapatti. Na Upapatti. It is words start, the sentence is starting with Na. So no way you can have the knowledge as knower and the known in simultaneous case, because it doesn't have any avayava or any parts in it. Atmanascha Gadadivat Vitneya Tve Jnana Upadesha Anartakyam. Atmanascha, in the case of Atma, Gadadivat, like the pot. Vitneya Tve, if it is known as like a similar to a pot, Jnana Upadesha Anartyakyam, then there is no need of any Upadesha by the Shruti. Upanishads need not advise, because it is like any other object, like Gata or Pada or any other object which we have in our day-to-day life, where there are umpteen objects, plenty of objects which is to be known. For that, what is the need for an Upanishad to be the Upadesha or the Guru to Upadesha? Do an instruction or advice or teaching. That is a subject. We have so many type of knowledge which is available in the world. For that, those subjects are enough and everything. Why should Upanishad take special efforts in the form of a jnanam, Satya Jnanam, Anandam? In that jnanam has to be brought in as not Neyat Tratre, with the known and the non-object. So if it becomes like Gada or like a pot, it becomes an object. Therefore, the potency for the Upanishad to teach or the Guru to teach is not valid, because you can know it like any object, any other. You can say that I saw 100 grams of Brahman or 1 kilogram of Atman. All those things can be like an object, you can say. Or I saw it like 1,000 light bulb or 1,000 sun. Or it is I saw my Atma flowing like a honey from my Shirsha, Kundalini, Shirsha. All type of statements are being made by people. But here Acharya is denying it totally, saying that Ghadadivat Visheshatve Jnana Upadesha Anarthyam. Upadesha will become Anarthakyam if it is an object. Nahi Gadadivat Prasiddhasya Jnana Upadesha Arthavan. Like a Gadadi, Prasiddhasya, whatever may be well known, I am well known to me. I know myself. I know my own nature, or I know myself. If it is like Gadadivat that I am knowing it, then Jnana Upadesha na Arthavan. This Jnana Upadesha by the Shruti and the Guru will not benefit you, because if you are considering it as an object, that I am knowing myself as an object. No. Tasmat Nadritve Sati Anandatya Anubhavati. That case, Anandata will not happen. Because in Anandata only, this indivisibility is available, and that indivisibility will deny Jnadritvam or the knowership in anyone. Even in Brahman doesn't know Brahman itself. Atma will not know Atma itself. There is nothing, no way it can be a known object as Gadadivat, like pot, etc. Sanmatratvam cha anuvapannam jnana kartritwadi visheshatve sati sanmatratvam cha satyam. Sanmatratvam, sat matram, Sat matram is sanmatram. Sanmatratvam means the nature of being Sat alone. Cha anuvapannam will not be happening. Jnana kartrutvadi visheshatve sati. In the event, it has got the jnana kartrutvam. Is a knowership in the Brahman. Sanmatratvam cha satyam. That satyam is in the sanmatratvam. In being alone in satyam alone. Satyasya satyam alone. That is why tat satyam. Chandogya says that. Tat satyam tattvamasi shvetaketo. Tat satyam tattvamasi shvetaketo. So now you have to relate to that verse statement in the Chandogya Upanishad. That satyam, which is the nature of Brahman, is tat tvam asi shvetaketo. That is what you are. Is what is being told by the father Uddalaga to son Shvetaketu. So here you understand the sanmatratvam cha satyam tat satyam. That is the satyam which is being the Sittyandarat. Is the satyam what is being referred here. Tasmat satya ananda shabdabhyam saha. That is therefore now he is making the final reaffirmation on the word jnanam. Because all this while he has been harping upon one word jnanam, how it will not understood properly, will make all sorts of confusion, and it will even deny the words satyam and anantam. If the word jnanam is taken as a knower known type of a situation, it is jnanam Jnapti avabodha bhava sadhanam. That aspect is being referred and reaffirmed again here in this statement. Tasma, therefore, Satya Ananda Shabdabhyam Saha. Along with the two words Satya and Ananda, Visheshanatvena, by using them as adjectives, Jnana Shabdasya. Now comes the word Jnana Shabda along with Satyam and Anandam. Now this is the place where, if you remember my explanation, among the boys, the one who is tall with a red hat and a blue shirt could identify, take out one boy separate from the crowd. Same way here, Satya, Ananda and Jnana, when these two Visheshanatvam, when it is being used as adjective, it can only be applied only to one boy. Like that, here it can be applied to Brahma alone. Prayogat bhava sadhano jnana shabdam. That prayoga, by usage of Satyam, Jnanam and Anandam together as adjective to Brahma, it becomes bhava sadhana shabdasa, jnana shabdam. Then only the jnana shabdam becomes a bhava sadhanam, means the nature of Brahman without any activity or objectifying or subject-object and act of knowing, divide of them, is the Brahman. Then only it becomes a bhava sadhanam, and that also has to be satyam, means which doesn't vyabhichara, which doesn't undergo any change. If it goes, if it is in the same Brahman, if it is the knower and the known is taking, there is vyabhichara taking place. Sometimes it is knower, sometimes it is known. Therefore, it is not satyam. And then, it is, if it is knower and the known, again it is divided. Na kutaschit pravibhajyate. That division can never be denied if it is a knower and known is there. So, Satya Jnana Anandam together only will make Satjnanam the Bhava Sadhana. Jnanam Brahma iti kartritvadi karaka nivrityartam mridadivat achit rubada nivrityartam cha prayujyate. Now here he brings in another aspect of Jnanam. Till now we have been denying the subject-object aspect. But here, Jnanam Brahma, iti kartrutvadi karaka nivrityartham. Karaka means the yajnatvam or the activities of being the subject, object, predictive, like the fourth case, cause, either, from where it is coming or into which it is going or in which as a substratum. All these things are coming under Karakam. So, they are all Kartrutvadi. Karta means it is the Pradama. The first case is Karta. Second case is object. Third case is causative. Like that we have the 6 Karakas. So all that Nivartyat Mridadivat, like that is for the mrid. In the mud, there is a causation. It is a material cause. Like that we can, there is no material cause also in Brahman. So there is no Karaka in the Brahman. Therefore, Karaka Nivritti, when it happens, the word Jnanam Brahma, Achit Rubada Nivartyartyam cha prayujyate. Achit Chit means Chaitanyam or consciousness, awareness in its purity form, pure consciousness, pure awareness. I don't have any equal English word for Chit. So I am using the words which are, but don't take it as the consciousness and awareness which is happening in the mind. No. It is neither the pure in the sense that we have no idea about what is the pure consciousness or what is the pure awareness. Without a knower or known or being conscious of something or being aware of something like that. But Chit is that aspect where there is no what you call the consciousness in its nature. So Achit Rupada Nivrityartham means anything other than that. Chit, Achit means other than Chit. So other than Chit to be denied. So whatever we are experiencing right from our own existence as individuality to everything in the world is Achit, means Jadam, which is a objectifiable thing. So such a thing is in the second Karakam, means as an object. So to Nivartyartham means to deny the possibility of categorizing Brahman into that category of knowable. Therefore, or Jada Rupam as matter. To remove that possibility, Jnanam Brahma is used. Jnanam Brahma iti vachanat praptam anandavatvam. So here Jnanam Brahma iti vachanat, by using the word Jnanam Brahma, anandavatvam praptam. The infinitudeness or infinitude, nature of infinitude, indivisible infinitude, let me add the adjective to that, is attained by the word Jnanam Brahma. How? That is because Achit Rupada Nivartyartham. All matter which is possibility to be known is being denied in their definition to fall into as follow Brahman. So when that is being done, then only it will become Anantada, the Anandavatvam. Anandavatvam means the nature of being Anandam. That is infinite, indivisible, infinite. Laukikasya jnanasya andavatva darshanat. In the laukika, in the loke, in the common experiences of ours, jnanasya, we know knowledge, we know knowing. Anantavatva darshanat. There is infinitude nature of objects or things like to be known. So we may think that knowing the infinitude of things in the transactional world is Brahman. Even that has to be denied. Ataha tan nivrityartam aha anandam iti. So now he is defining Jnanam itself is Anandam. First he said Satyam is Jnanam. Now he is saying that Jnanam is Anandam. Why? Because there are infinite things to be known. Those knowledge is not to be taken as Brahman, because Jnanam Brahma, that Brahma is Anandam. Indivisible, infinite in nature. Therefore, we have to understand that Atma is the Brahman is Satyam, Jnanam and Anandam as the nature of Brahman, and it is also adjectives of Brahman, and at the same time it removes all the things which are not Satyam, not Jnanam, not Anandam. Therefore, the Purva Pakshi now comes out with a question. Satyadinam anurtadi dharma nivritti paratvad visheshasya cha brahmanaha utpaladivat aprasiddhatvad mrigadrishnambasi jnata khapushpa shekhara esha vandyo suto yadi shashashangascha dhanurdharha itivat shunyartateva prapta satyadi vakyeti chet. I will explain this in the next class, but I'll run through the meaning of the sentence. Shankaracharya was nicknamed by all the other philosophers that here comes the mithya. Because he is talking about mithya, so he has to be personification of mithya himself. So they called him what? And Shankaracharya himself is quoting it in his own commentary. Imagine that. He knows that he is being called like this by people or the other philosophers, which he has heard, obviously heard. So he is saying that Mrigatrishna Ambasi Snada. Mrigatrishna means mirage. Ambasi means water. Snata means one who had taken bath. So one who has taken bath in the water of mirage. Khapushpa krita shekara. Khapushpa means the flower of the sky. Krita shekara means adorning the flower from the sky on his head. Esha Vandya Sudo Yati. This child of the barren woman is coming, Shashasringa Dhanurdaraha, carrying a bow and arrow made out of the horns of the hare. Everything is impossible. You cannot take bath in mirage. You cannot wear a flower of sky in the hair. You can never be a son of a barren woman. And you can never make a bow and arrow out of the non-available horns of a hare. So, total mithyatvam is what is being indicated by this one particular definition. So, the Purva Pakshi is asking, itivat, like this, if you are denying Satyam, if you are denying Jnanam, if you are denying Anandam in any other means other than that, Shunyarthat eva prapta, will it not lead us to Shunyata? It is as good as there is nothing which is available, which is not which is Satyam, Jnanam and Anandam. We all know if your definitions have to be applied, we have no knowledge of anything which can fit in that category of Satyam, Jnanam and Anandam. Therefore, the meaning will become Shunyam. This is what the Purva Pakshi is asking, which we will discuss in the next class. I'll stop here and we'll get into question answers. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरिः ओम् श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ओम् थैंक यू धन्यवाद
Thank you so much, Binduji. Yeah, that was very worthwhile going back over parts of that. Very clear, very lovely to listen to. You know, I think for me, this Upanishad gets more right to the heart of Advaita than I had anticipated just reading the mantras. So I couldn't say thank you enough. Everyone, thank you for being here, and I really encourage you to uh, take advantage of the opportunity to come up and speak with Bindaji and let us all benefit from your thoughts. Just turned hand raising on, so you're welcome to come up. Prakash, did you want to say anything while we're waiting to see who might want to discuss?
Yes, thank you. Yeah. Pranam Binduji, that was again a very deep manana.
Pranam.
Yeah. Very, very deep manana. One thing I specifically, as a skill of learning, how to be very, very careful in terms of arriving at the meaning of that. So you went from Satyam Jnanam Ananta, and then you reversed it. You reversed the sadhak's intentions to start from Jnanam. That was a very, very interesting way of embodying that which has no name and form, but has all these attributes that can be easily visualized for a sadhak who has reached that that clarity without any doubt. And then the contextualization, I had one question. So the jnanam is placed between Satyam and Ananta. Is that, do you see any particular weightage given to that aspect? I just wanted you to go a little bit deeper into the aspect of jnanam between Satyam and Ananta.
Technically speaking, no. It is just like the three corners of a triangle. All the three are equally important, and you need to see them. Without one, the triangle is never complete, right? So that way you have to say that, and the included shadow of the triangle is you have to understand that without one, without the other two, one cannot independently create a shadow inside. That way you have to understand that all the three are important.
Okay. Now, the follow-up question is, you also mentioned that this is usually a transmission. It cannot be known, but it can be transmitted. Is that my interpretation correct? Or?
See, we have to understand that we have been given rise to so many ideologies or ideas in our mind that by the Upanishads themselves and so by the teachers that there is something called Brahmatjnanam, there is something called Atmatjnanam, the knowing of Atma, knowing of Brahman. You can know it in your inside. Avrita chakshu amrutatvam ichan. Pratyagatmanam Aichad. That man, that Dhira, when he turned his vision inwards, he saw the Atman inside. So such statements from the Upanishad has given rise to our mentation that it is something to be known. That aspect of knowability, I being separate, and for me to know, this is a perennial blockage in all of our mind. Shankaracharya, by giving this detailed commentary, he is saying that it is not Brahma what is being explained. My commentary is only to remove the misconceptions about Brahman and Atman and the possibility of objectifying it and taking it as Laukika Mridadivat, like anything else in the world. It is not to be taken as an object at all. This aspect of knowing Brahman Atman will become clearer when he goes to Tasmadva Atmana Akasha Sambhudaha Akashad Vayu Vayu Ragni. That time I will explain it in a different one. I'll explain Shankaracharya's comment, but I'll also probe you all to see it from a point where these three statements of Satyam, Jnanam, Anandam will be applicable and looking at how the whole thing becomes relevant and meaningful to us. Then you will understand that why Shankaracharya has taken so much of time in writing this commentary to remove our misconceptions. Only when the removed misconceptions are taken care, the knowledge can shine by itself. That knowledge will come and not as an object, not as a knower, but as ourselves. Not as what we think as ourselves, but as that one thing which denies the possibility of a second thing, Advaitiyam Brahma, the non-second one. In that, how we are misunderstanding ourselves to be individuals and separate, that misconception also will go. For that is what this whole section is all about.
Yes, thank you, Vinodji. I have one more last question. You used the word ideation. So this ideation is seen as a hindrance. So can you explain a little bit more about ideation? Because I know it is. There are several hindrances, ideation becoming one of those at that stage.
Ideation is a mental activity. Vritti, in the Sanskrit we call it as vritti. And vritti will give rise to knowledge. That knowledge is in the imagination, but not as a real object available or real material object which we are familiar with, the pot, etc. But we will deny the potency of Atma or Brahman being similar to the pot, etc. But as something, as an imaginary object, with all the definitions which we have learned from the Upanishads. Still, we will try to objectify it. To avoid that, is the reason why the ideation should also be removed from the mind. Because see, that is the nature of the mind. We are not we cannot blame it. We are using the mind for it. How do we get rid of the potency of the mind to do these things? Yet manasana manute enahur manomatam. It is not by which the mind can be measured, mind can know it, by which the mind knows, the presence of which mind becomes a tool for knowing. So all those things which we have learned earlier will take a different level altogether when we are understanding this Satya Jnanam Anandam. That Jnanam there is not through the mind. Yet mana enahur manomatam, by which the mind itself becomes a tool. So the knowing in the mind is not because of the mind. Mind is a tool. The tool cannot do anything with itself. At the same time, we cannot say that Brahma is a doer or the actor who is using a tool. No, that also has to be removed. That is why the Anandada has to be brought in. Because you cannot divide there. That Ananda, when the Brahma is there, then the mind is separate. That also has to be removed. It has to shine. I have no other words but to use as words because the words have limitations. It has to shine by itself when all the ideations and the mental agonies or activities are put to rest. Even in meditation, if we are having an ideation that I am meditating on Atma or Brahman, it will not reveal itself. It reveals by itself. For that, what we have to do is remove all the ideations or mental imaginations or thinking that it is an object to be achieved. When everything is set apart, I always say that when you stand stark naked even without your body, mind and intellect, that is the time when it will shine by itself. You have to be devoid of your body, mind, intellect complex.
Thank you. Thank you, Binduji.
Thank you, Prakash. Ganesh, just if you don't mind a moment, is that just to remind anyone who would like to come up and discuss the class that happened today, or the earlier classes on this Upanishad, please raise your hand and come up and benefit us all with talking to Binduji. I'm glad you made it in, Venkat. I noticed you weren't here at first, and I was trying to help you find the way. I'm glad you came up. I just want to briefly try to say something about what you said, Prakash and Binduji. Yeah, what we're both just discussing really catches the essence to me of what the class was today. It seems like we're talking about something, and we're even giving words for it, but we're saying that it's not an object that's perfect. But then the question about transmission, I feel like that word is indicating to the person who's still looking for something that there's a different way to catch the drift of what's happening. And it may seem that one is catching the drift of what the teaching is from someone who seems to already have caught the drift. Of course, in the end, that all falls apart. But I think it is a step towards relaxing the idea that I can be an agent in attaining something for myself. And the last thing that this made me think about was what's happened on Clubhouse over the last year or two, in my view, not only in spiritual rooms, but in other rooms too, where certain people who seemed so enthusiastic seemed to, kind of give up on whatever learning they thought they were going to get. And I think that unfortunately happens in spirituality, that people think they're going to get something. And then when they find out that there's nothing that they can get in the usual way, they turn away. So that was a little long, but if there are any thoughts on the way I'm looking at it, Bindaji or Prakash, I'd love that. And then Ganesh and Venkat and anyone else who would like to raise their hands. Thanks.
Your question or your statement is valid, because why do we come to spirituality, or why do we pursue this if it is not to be known, or if nothing is to be achieved? That is a very valid question, and it can run into the mind of so many people, as you rightly said. They will drop everything. And the people, I know that people have been dissuaded because they have been trying and pursuing the spiritual path, even taking up to the sannyasa and abandoning everything in the world and trying to meditate upon the, on the things what they have been meditating upon, and all those. At the end of the thing, when they are facing death, they feel that they have wasted a lifetime. It's a real, sorry situation. All this is because we have expectations. I expected and did the sannyasa, throwing away everything, and meditation, and thinking that Atma, my Atma or Brahman is a knowledge which I can achieve by activity or by doing certain things. When we go through these type of explanation from Shankaracharya, only we realize that Nastya Krita Kritena. It is not a product of activity or a action by which it will be achieved. Actions are required, activities are required for removing the ill-placed knowledge or the wrong understanding or assumptions and expectations we have in our mind. What is that going to do is to remove all our thoughts which we are having now. Even while discussing this, the very name and form of the individuality is predominant so much that we cannot think about ourselves without our mind-body complex. Beyond the mind-body complex, is there is an existence for me, or is there any possibility for me? That, without leaving the body-mind complex, is what we are trying. But that will not happen. Because it is not a product of the mind or mentation or ideation. Therefore, it is quite natural for people to get dejected, depressed about all the efforts what they have been trying to do. But here, the Upanishad is giving you a guarantee. Tat satyam, tattvamasi shvedaketo. When that statement is being made, that you are that, but not what you are thinking that you are. That also has to be taken in mind in the process. But are we concentrating what we are thinking and assuming that what we are is product of our mind? We are not knowing that. We are still thinking that whatever the mind has projected from learning the Upanishad is what Brahman or Atman is, or my nature is. Only when you study this, such a detailed description from Shankaracharya, that how to understand Brahman, to remove the misunderstanding, not to know Brahman. When all the misunderstandings are removed, that is what the Kathopanishad said. It enlightens one itself. That Soprakash, that the light of that Atma, Brahman, becomes the everlasting light which enables everything. In that light, there is no other light which can shine. That is the light which we are all made of. To know that light, all the things which are prohibiting the shine of the light or the brilliance of the light has to be taken away. Then only we will. Then we don't have to light the lamp again. The lamp by itself will be shining on us. That is the way it has to be understood.
Beautiful to hear that again. Thank you so much. Ganesh, go ahead.
Namaste, Bindoji.
Namaste, Ganesh.
Today, you took so much of time for again going back to the Jnanam aspect so much. And even I am also a little confused about that Jnapti and Avabodha. Please tell me if I am right. In the state of Jnanam, I mean, when we consider Jnanam Brahma, the knower, known, and the knowing activity all become absent. So it cannot be like that, as you said. So is it an experience? Is avabodha is an experiential thing, which would be called bhava sadhana, as you said. So then only that Satyam and Anantam could be held sustainable.
Right.
Is it that?
Right. You are right.
So in Jnanam, all the three aspects should be absent. That only avabodha can be an experiential thing, isn't it, Bindoji?
It is an experiential thing, not by the mind.
Yeah. That is it. Mind will become absent now when all the three become annihilated almost. Knower, known, and the knowing.
Yeah.
The mind will be absent, no?
The mind will be absent, but you should also think it is not the Sakshi also. Because we always tend to that where the three are removed, then we become the witness to all the three. No.
Yeah. That is also there. Okay.
I know myself as a knower. I know myself as knowing. I know myself as, I know the object which I am knowing. So I am a witness to all the three of my knowing. I am a witness to my knowing. That type of activity happens, no? But that also is not there.
Yeah. So as you said, it is only a self-effulgent experience which could determine the fact that Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Bindoji. It is an excellent experience to listen to, and it fills us with a lot of confidence towards the jnana of it. Thank you very much, Bindoji.
If it is not possible, Shankaracharya would not have wasted time on writing the Bhashyas for all this, no?
Yeah. Koti pranams to both Shankara and to you also, because this would not have been understood by whatever type of reading or listening to the other. I have listened to some of the other commentaries on this, or read rather, but it cannot go so deep into the mind as you are telling these things. Thank you, Bindoji. Thank you very much. I fall short of words to express my gratitude. Thank you. Especially that part of Jnanam, which was a little confusing in the first class. Even in the last class, you elaborated on that so much, and today it is. I had taken pieces of notes on that, and if one Atma, will it become both knower and known? And that you have explained. Shankara explicitly says no for that, and today it is a little more clear. Thank you, Bindoji. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ganesh.
Namaste, Venkat. Take the time that you need. You're very welcome.
No, I'm just thinking we're almost getting to 10. Should we delay? Because
No. Go
almost
ahead.
like
Go
an
ahead.
hour.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. So, Binduji, I think this recap was good. So we try to build now because, that Upadana Nimitta Karana out of the picture now. Because that will also go based on all of this. So if you look at Nanam, that Gamanam, right? Gamanam is the attention. Attention is a root. Hence further, Gnatru Gneya Gnanam. That Triputi is a result of it due to attention. It's in our own experience. It's not outside. That Gamanam led to these, Gnatru Gneya, this all three will come and go, hence it is not Satyam. So Triputi is taken out. Now, that Gamanam, that attention,
Jnanam, not gamanam. Gamanam means going.
going, right? Going. The Gnana, but the root word is Gamya, right?
No. Gum is
Gam.
for, I gave gum for the word go.
Okay.
Jna is for no.
No, right? So if
Jnanam,
take
you
knowing,
have to
right?
take jnanam. Yeah.
Knowing.
Just as gum becomes gamanam, ganda, etc. The word jna is also jnanam, jnata, jnatra. All those things, the words can format because that is how the Sanskrit language is that. So we have to use the language within the rules of the language to convey the message. But at the same time, there is only for the word jnanam, there is an aspect that which can be understood as, as a nature, whereas the word go doesn't have a nature by of its own. So that is why the word bhavasadhanam makes it complete. When it becomes bhavasadhanam, then only it becomes a nature of an object.
Sure. So is attentive awareness close to this?
No. In the attentive awareness also has got I am the attentive one who is giving attention, and attention awareness is coming to me of what I am attending to. So there is the three in that also.
So, see, there are two modes of it, right? I'm just classifying it. There is a lantern mode and a spotlight mode. The spotlight is that Gamanam, still there is a attention that is directed. It may not form a triputi yet, like, Ramana Maharshi was asking question, Nin yar, right? Who are you? That question to be pondered upon. There is a Gamanam in that attention. Now, that lead to, what lead to is that knowing, it's not the knower, eventually that collapse lead to pure knowing. Is the bhava sadhana, that pure knowing is the result of collapse of that, attention. When the attention collapses, pure knowing, there is no knower, no knowledge. Yet, undeniably, there is a bhava. There is no abhava. Abhava means, there is no pragya bhava, padvamsa bhava, or, atyanta abhava. There is no abhava here in bhava. Is that fair, closure on this? Gnanam, there is no attention, devoid of attention, yet bhava is not gone. Fair enough, Binduji?
No. You have, in all those things, that attention, whatever it is, you cannot bring in any bifurcation. Then anantata will not happen.
Because that if you take, for example, that I amness, with even before verbalizing I amness, the moment you verbalize, then this whole thing loses it. prior to verbalizing it, that I amness, for example, it's a bhava that you can't delete it. So when the moment it is taken, right, Bikaji, that bhava sadhano nana shabdaha, that what else is a possibility here?
See, the possibility of knowledge with that type of a knowledge which is unchanging because it is to be satyam. At the same time, there can never be any sort of division, bifurcation or partition or any parts, anything of that sort which is in. It is a mass of knowledge, prajnana ghanam, or what you call that is jnana ghanam, which is what it is. And but it has also to be understood with that, there cannot be even the I amness. It has a beginning. And it is there, it is forgetting that I amness when you are busy in the activities of the world. So there is a change in that I amness when it is happening. When we are engaged in the world, the I amness as I amness is not functioning. The
That's a directed
nature,
I amness. That's a directed I
the,
amness, right, Binduji?
pardon?
That's a directed, no? The same I amness is directed, led to the Tripati.
Yeah, it cannot be directed. That's what I'm saying. That then you are not in the Anandata.
So that what is directed, led to Tripati, it is prior to Tripati. There is no Gnatrutva in I amness. If you take the, put the three attribute to I amness, that, it is not having a boundary and it doesn't have it is existing. The Satyam is part of it. Anantam without boundary. And it has the attribute of knowing that led to the Tripati later. You can apply the three Lakshana Vakya to this also, right, Binduji?
Yes, but at the same time, the moment you bring in I amness, this other than I am, other than I, the this, is what makes I exist. The word I exist is in relation with the other. So the I amness has got a hidden otherness which we are unknowingly acknowledging when I am saying I amness.
No, the acknowledgement is after that become the knower, that I am sprouts
That
from
the
I
word
amness.
I, the word I itself will become the beginning from where. That is why we have to understand the word I in what sense is happening in the following mantras. Tasmat va etas atmana akasha sambhuta. That word atmana is being replaced by Brahma when the commentator is giving the details. Because the word Atma will be misunderstood as the individual I or the one who is doing the thinking. To that part to not to be included is why that mantra says Etasmad Atmana Akasha Sambhuta. The word Atma is not Atma, it is Brahma, what is to be taken here, and how it is to be taken will be explained by Shankaracharya in the following commentaries. So the word I amness, when you are saying, we are taking I as what we know I for all of us. It is not that I which we know as I what is being referred here. All of us have got a knowledge about who I. In the I, when we make the statement, as you rightly said, before or the before whole thing. Even when we are waking up, now for example, when we wake up, what we think about is the first one is even without knowledge, there is the I which is coming up. From the I only the rest of the things start flowing. I am the waker, or becomes the world of experience as a waker. That I is not, even before the world comes up, that I from the deep sleep, when it comes to the I level, it is a seed in the potential seed level where I am ready to project the otherness to make I as an individuality. So when we say I amness, what we normally understand I amness is from that point of view, not from the Brahman or Atman point of view.
Binduji, I think this is where it is pretty deep. See, the I-amness, the bhava sadhana of I-amness, maybe that's a way to put it. Bhava sadhana of I-amness is, due to that gnanam. Because, I-amness is absent in the deep sleep. That gives you that, that satya is gone right there. But as soon this, beginning, in the waking state, there is no beginning and end to this. That lakshana continue to be, the three-way validation works in the waking, but it collapses in the deep sleep. Right, Binduji? That gnana sadhanam of I amness may be the way to go for it, right, Binduji?
Amness, you have to understand from a point of view. See, this amness also will become a hindrance for knowing Brahman or Atman.
That's clear, Binduji. See, subject knowing subject or subject knowing object. If you look at that awareness of an object and awareness of, thoughts or emotions, even the bhava, there is an awareness of bhava and awareness of awareness. So it brings a very important question. Can awareness know itself? Can subject know the subject itself?
No.
That's a final ask.
That is the final answer is no. The subject can never know the subject. Because then then what you call infinite this thing will, anavastha dosham will come. Infinite thing. Then who will know that which one will become the object? Knowing the known will become an object, right? The known will become an object. Even the subject starts knowing the subject itself. The subject knowing will become the subject as an object. The time the subject cannot be simultaneously subject and object. That is the problem for it. If you are accepting that then you are talking about a division of the subject into subject and object. One part of subject will be knowing the other part of the subject as an object. Is it that how we have to understand? No. If you understand that way, then the division happened. Suppose if you say the subject is knowing subject itself as an object, it can never know itself as subject, knowing subject as subject. No, that can never happen. It is never a possibility at all. That is what you call it is totally a non-possible thing. But the moment the subject is knowing itself, then that knowing of what will come. Then you have to say that the subject is knowing itself. How can it know itself unless it divides itself as part of it becomes subject and object like that? or else it looks at, becomes the object, then the subject will not be there to know it. If it remains as a subject, then there is no subject, no object has to be known by the subject.
Then all this Tattvamasi, I am Atma, Brahma, all that will
Yes.
collapse, right? Because of
No, it will
subject
not.
knowing subject.
It will not collapse. That is why these words will become meaningful only if you understand that Chit Rupata, not as Bhava Sadhanam only. In the Bhava Sadhanam, you have to bring the Chit Rupata, then it is become the Chaitanya. In the Chaitanya, there is no knowing, there is only being. There the Jnanam becomes Bhava Sadhana, means Jnanam becomes the being. Bhava means to become. Bhava Sadhana means an object of being. That is the state which is. There see that the moment, that is what Shankaracharya very clearly wants us to understand, that don't think that it is an object to be known even by the subject by thinking as subject. Atma, Atmano, Jnatrit Jnana, in Jnatrit Jneya, in the Atma itself. How can it happen? He's saying no. Anamshatvad. It cannot be made amsha. Right? Then Bhuma Lakshana Vidiparatvad.
That's perfect, Balaji. There's no denying of this. Basically, the Bhava Sadhana, there's no denying of this. Along that Kartutvadi Nivara, Kartutvadi Karaka Nivrutyartam, Amrudadi Vadachidrupa Ta Nivrutyartam Prayojate. That is, that Kartrutva is taken out using Gnanam, because Gnanam will do the Nivrutti. The Nivrutti happens, then what leaves is that same, that I'm just putting this up. How does it matter if subject knows the subject?
Tell me how the subject can know the subject.
This is the, that I amness we talk about. That I amness we talked about.
I amness known by the mind is not I amness. It is
It
a
is not the
vritti of the
mind.
mind. What you are knowing is the vritti in the mind.
See, the vritti and nivritti is just a knowledge, right? It's just a knowledge.
No,
right?
Nivritti is not the nivritti means escape or removal. Vritti means thought.
See, self-knowledge is self-evident, right, Banerjee?
Self-knowledge is not a knowledge known by anybody.
It will never be. It will never be.
How will the subject ever know the subject itself?
This is via the mind.
Then what is known is what is happening in the mind is known by the subject. Not the subject is knowing itself.
See, the mind is an extension of the same subject, right, Bandhuji, end of the day?
Mind is mind. See, the thing is that mind, when it is in operation, it's a tool. It's a tool used by the subject. Now that tool cannot be, the knife cannot cut knife itself. We know it told that day, last class. The same knife cannot cut itself. Right?
It never be. It never.
Yeah. Same is the case with the subject. Knowing subject means that it's an absurd statement, because it is as good as saying that same knife cuts itself.
So just take this analogy, Bindarji. So if you're sitting long over a trap and the leg become numb, and you just pinch yourself in that area, there is a sensation, it's the own body just pinching to recognize, okay, it is still, I get the sensation. Just knowing the same numbness of the body. So when you unwind, it is the same knowing of the self.
You're giving an example of a sensation which is an object of the
No,
leg.
that are removed it. So now you can know the thoughts in the mind. That is again a tool used as a mind. So either the body or the mind that has thoughts known at a subject level, subject knowing subject. We talked about subject knowing object. Now subject knowing subject. It
Tell me
can be
how.
mind is a mediator.
No, mind cannot come in detail. Mind is not there when the subject knowing mind means subject knowing through the mind the subject itself.
The I am
It is
is
just
probably
it is just like that, Venkat. You are showing a mirror to yourself and you are saying that I am seeing myself. But you are not seeing yourself. You are seeing a reflection of yours.
no. It's not fully possible. I'm not contending on that. Just a glimpse. Mirror gives you a small glimpse of you. That's about it. Like pinching your leg. That's the most.
I know there is some communication error between both of us. I don't know whether you are understanding me, misunderstanding me, or I am misunderstanding you. But
No.
I
I'm
am
just
not able to.
finally putting this subject knowing subject also subject knowing object. Is subject knowing subject possible or not? That we are debating. That's it, Vinodji.
Yeah, subject knowing by subject with my knowledge and with what is given in the Upanishad, it can never happen.
Sure, Vinodji. I think we'll wait for the future classes, that whole sprouting
Right.
of I am. How that I am sprouting eventually, is that a tool to know self or not? We can talk about it, Vinodji.
Yep. Srini?
Namaste, Bindaji. Thank you for a
Namaste.
beautiful session and also a fantastic question and answers. I think the conversation between you and Venkatji was also awesome. I think you and Adi Shankaracharya have declared war on Satkarya Vada, and now all hell is going to break loose. I think that's how dramatically I'm looking at this whole session. It's beautiful, Bindaji. Thank you.
I can only say what Shankaracharya has said, and I am 100% with him, and I understand what he said. Totally. There is
Yeah,
not an iota of doubt on that. So from
and it
that
is so
point of view,
accurate. Yeah, it's so
logic,
accurate that whenever
simple
someone
logic.
declares this war on Satkaryavada, then they're obviously about to call, they will be called a Buddhist, right? So I'm looking, so that is also so obvious because I think it's like that, what is that? That thorn, right? That thorn example which you use to remove another thorn. So
Yeah.
probably most of the time Satkaryavada is being used by Advaitis themselves to remove all other thorns. And finally, it's the time to throw away the thorn of Satkaryavada also. It's very dramatic. I think I'm enjoying this like very much. Thank you, Vindaji.
Thank you, Srini. Atmisha, can we wind up?
Yeah, we sure can. Thank you, especially Bindo and Venkat. This was really good because I think this is a place where this language gets very unclear. And so thank you. Let's continue maybe even on Sunday. So thank you everyone for being here. Classes Wednesday and Friday at 8:30 p.m. IST. More general Advaita question and answer on Sundays at the same time here. If you're new to the house, there are a few people. Feel free to please join. We do try to keep the rooms usually about 25 minutes, even shorter than today. And we carry questions over. So if you had something from today, I encourage you to attend on Friday. And then Bindaji's pointed out that the very first class for this Upanishad, and then I would say this one and the last two, are pretty central to any of the discussions that are had here. So please listen to those replays so that your questions can take us even further. Last thing I want to mention is that there is replays here, but there are even more replays on Binduji's YouTube channel. It's still under the handle Advaita Talks, but the channel itself is now going by the name Advaita Retold. And so you can catch those in Binduji's profile here. So thank you for being with us, everybody, and especially Binduji. Perfect. And I loved the very last part was so to the point. We really have to understand we have to understand this. Prakash, would you close us out and then go to Binduji for the final? Thank you.
Yes, definitely. There was such a deep discussion on the subject object, and Venkatji, with probing questions brought forth that. So I think this is a very special satsang where Bindoji is the main anchor, and he just takes that very clear position of how one can. This is why I think the word transmission is applicable, not for the teacher, but for the sadhak. To see it as a transmission of wisdom is such a vital part of this, I think. So I thank Bindoji and you, Artemisia, for organizing this, and for everyone, Venkatji, Ganeshji, Srinivasji, and everyone in the audience for coming and participating. Over to you, Bindoji. Thank you.
Thank you. Hari Om. Namaste.
Namaste, Vinodji.
Namaste,
Good night.
Binduji. Good night.
Hari Om.